making love to yourself a little bit. This is a recipe for disaster, by the way. Yeah, we're making a 5-course set menu and I'll show you how, so let's just get cracking. This is prepping day 1. I'm just having a little bit of leftovers. This is the lunch I'm having. We have a white sauce with parsley, we have peas, and then my little vegan meatballs here with panko crumbs on it. Okay. Otherwise, I forget to eat when I'm in the kitchen, ironically. I am so bloody excited because I haven't cooked a 5-6 course dinner in months, so I honestly feel a little bit out of shape. We're gonna get back into it now. And this is the first day of prep. Then we have tomorrow where we're gonna have the dinner. Tons of things will be made there as well. But for day 1, we're doing a cherry compote, a tart shell, a vanilla cream, a cauliflower soup, a tofu cream, green mayo, green sauce, vegan caviar, lemon pearls, a carrot mosaic. Also, the audio will be significantly better for the rest of this video, so sorry about that. Anyway, first prep is veggies for my soup and destoning the cherries. I started using a knife, which you know is silly when Pinterest taught me how to use a straw. And it worked surprisingly well, I must admit. I'm also adding champagne and caster sugar to the cherries before letting them simmer. We're just gonna let the cherries have a good time. We need the liquid to basically be reduced to this nice, thick, almost caramelized texture. I'm just gonna let that sit. And I can tell you no greater pleasure than getting to use your own spoon that you carved yourself to stir your soup. After an hour-ish on low heat on the stove, this is what is left, which I'm blending to a smoother consistency. It does look like I'm having a little bit of trouble here though. It resembles jam a bit and it passed the taste test with flying colors. This is so good. And now that we're at it with the blender, let's blend the soup as well. I'm just making the base of the soup today and then I'll add the rest of the ingredients tomorrow. That's why it's looking a little bit bland, but later I'll add tarragon and lemon and vegan cream, salt and pepper to taste, the whole 9 yards. I just blended the soup and I took a little bit of my vegetables out beforehand, so we're gonna make a puree as well. If there is a chance to make a puree, I am taking it. I'm blending some of the soft cauliflower with a little bit of the oat milk from the soup, then adding my plant-based butter and blending again for a silky smooth texture. Now this is what dreams are made of, I can tell you that much. Or my dreams, at least. Okay, moving on, we're making a crème de pâtisserie, but plant-based. Also for the dessert, this is a 2-parter as well, so we'll be making the base today and fold it over with whipped cream tomorrow. You take soy milk, caster sugar and vanilla and you add it to a pot and let it simmer. Mix a cup of your soy sugar mixture with about 30 grams of cornstarch and whisk it until all lumps are dissolved. Then add it to the pot and stir. Just like making a savory sauce. It will start to thicken basically right away, so it's important to stir constantly to avoid it burning. Add some plant-based butter, and once the consistency is thickened, take it off the heat and let it cool down completely. Ideally, let it sit overnight in the fridge before adding the whipped cream. But honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, you can use this as a warm sauce on a dessert as well. I think that would be banger. Okay, for my next trick, I'm pulling out my own cookbook. I know, cringe, but I'm using a recipe for carrot mosaics. And sometimes it's nice to have the past version of yourself guide you. I roasted my leek and carrot in the oven for about half an hour. Then I laid them out on a nori sheet, which you probably know from sushi. I used the sheet to roll it up really tightly before letting it rest in the fridge until tomorrow. This is the dish, by the way, that I am the most nervous about. I'll use it as a centerpiece in the tarragon cauliflower soup, and with the seaweed we have some pretty strong flavors here that I am nervous might be a little too overwhelming. I'll find out when I taste everything together before I serve it, but I am a little skeptical because these flavors are very different but very dominating individually. This is also the only time where I cave and have to use cling film. Otherwise, you know it's not a product I condone, but right here it's the only thing that keeps the mosaic tight enough to slice, so don't come for me. I know. One of the desserts I want to make is a Moonscape tart. I want to make a small cake, a tart, a pie, tiny pie, with the cherry compote in the middle, then the vanilla cream on top, and then a Moonscape veil, which I have made one time before, and I hope I can recreate this look. Put it on top of the tart. It's gonna look fantastic. It's gonna be like a little moon. That's gonna be the major dessert. Then we have a smaller dessert with a lemon sorbet, but that's gonna be the main dessert. So we have to make a crust, the actual tart. And for that, we're gonna need 4 ingredients. All-purpose flour, water, salt, and butter. vegan butter. Let's make a pie crust. So puff pastry dough is actually easy to find pre-made and plant-based because the cheapest versions tend to be without animal products, but hell freezes over the day I buy pie crust pre-made. It is so easy to put together. Touch it minimally and let it cool in the fridge for an hour before shaping it into your pie tins. And then it's just about believing the process. It looks like sawdust for a while until it suddenly starts to take shape. So we have to believe the dough is real and we'll manifest it. True story. I'm adding the dough directly into the tins because there's so much vegan butter in this dough that I don't think we'll need to grease them beforehand. I think this looks pretty decent. However, these are starting to look really great, but now I'm sort of in doubt whether or not they're too small. Is it a little bit stingy for a dessert? I kind of don't know. I mean, what would prep be if you didn't change directions 400 times while you're going? This is the pie crust I was going for, and this is the one I will be going with. I feel like this is just too sad for a dessert, for the main dessert. So we opted up a notch. I feel like no one will be mad about that. Yeah, that's the right call. I started around 11 o'clock and it's now 4:30. We just need to get the rest of the crust done and we're done for the day. Which means that there's some things that I need to do tomorrow where I need to run a little bit quicker than today. Tough shit, we're doing it. I'm really happy I ended up switching from one size to another. Anyway, let's continue. We're not continuing, we're done. And this is everything that happened on day one. Then I enjoyed the seagull family outside my window. Oh, and several hours later, after actually having gone to bed, I went back into the kitchen for a rhubarb experiment that I did end up ditching after all, but that's the name of the game. It's day number 2 and we're making brioche. Out of pure practicality, we're making a lemon posset instead of a lemon sorbet because I don't have room in my freezer. This is my freezer and it's packed to the brim, so we have to think of something else, which means we're gonna do a lemon posset with silken tofu instead. Fingers crossed I have room in my fridge. To make the lemon posset, we combine vegan whippable cream, lemon juice and sugar and let it simmer for a few minutes on low heat until the sugar has dissolved. Then we add it to a blender along with silken tofu, which is a miracle food. You can use it in basically everything. I'm surprised we aren't building houses with this yet. I also added some extra vanilla sugar later on, by the way. There it is. Okay. I used the juice of half a lemon and then just a ton of zest as well, because usually I go to my local Asian supermarket to get my silken tofu because those are by far the best ones. Like silken tofu from a supermarket, no thank you. But I don't have the time today to go there, so I had to go to a supermarket, and the one that I can usually get is this one, which I do not necessarily like. You have to add a lot of flavor to sort of mask or to dominate the silken tofu flavor that this one specifically has. The zest of basically a whole ass lemon and a ton of vanilla sugar. And now we're here. You cannot taste the silken tofu. It's just nice, zesty, acidic, creamy, a little bit of softness and sweetness too as well. Now we add it. So we're gonna add it to these balls and just cross our fingers that it's going to set. Moving on to the green mayo, for which we will start by blanching the parsley before letting it cool under running cold water. Then I'm adding it to the blender with the remaining silken tofu and a bit of creme fraiche. I can use this on multiple dishes today. It's so tasty, zesty, herby, and yeah, works great in sandwiches the day after as well, by the way. The dough has finished rising. We're gonna bake them in these, so they're gonna be nice and rectangular. This is gonna be the first dish. The bread, cream on top, tofu slices sliced incredibly thin, lemon pearls, fresh greens. It's gonna be a great little starter dish, and then we're also gonna bake some bread for the soup, which is the second starter. Ah, oh, gorgeous. I wish I was more cool. This is so nice. Now that I think about it, I don't think I even showed you when I first made the dough for the bread, because I did that this morning before I even really woke up. I might not have showed you. Anyway, I made bread. What we do to make these small loaves, we're gonna take a little bit of bread, gonna squeeze it in here, and then we're gonna let it rise again just for 30 minutes or so. I have taken all the bread out of the oven and they're so nice and squishy. So the plan is, here we are, to cut off the top and then arrange the fillings, the toppings on top. The rest, of course, is not going to go to waste. We're going to use that for the soup as well. And look at these small buns as well. I I love them. This is so nice and fluffy. Gonna break it apart. It is so soft. The yellow color comes from turmeric, and then I also added cardamom as well. The recipe comes from my own cookbook. That is very much so making love to yourself a little bit. This one, fantastic. I didn't show this to you yesterday because I thought a tutorial was a little bit of a moot point. I've showed you these a million times. But every time I make them, I am so stoked. So, of course we're having a twill. I actually ponder if we should have more twill. I could make another for the desserts. I think I might do that today. Now the oven is on anyway. These small crisps are incredibly easy to make. It's the easiest kind of dough. I mix usually water, flour, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of oil, and whatever sort of flavor enhancer I would like. In this I have activated charcoal and truffle oil. They're gonna be on the first dish. Very excited, but maybe we should do one for one of the desserts too. Fuck it, obviously. And there we go. I did anticipate that it would become darker after I baked it, and I'm really happy with the color because it's gonna match the rhubarb really well. So what I've generally learned here is that it's a good idea to take out everything that you need to do this, because once the ball is rolling, everything happens a bit fast. So it's good to have everything on hand right away. I have my main liquid. This is a lychee juice beverage, completely clear. Then I have my activated charcoal. Then I have my agar-agar, which is a plant-based gelatin. I have my little pot. Then I have my plate I'm going to pour my liquid onto. And then I just took my pie mold just to make sure that I have enough to do 4 spaces. So to take you guys through these steps, it's actually quite simple. You pour your liquid into your pot, you bring that to a simmer, just below the boiling point. You don't want it absolute boiling away, but just below the boiling point. Then you add in your agar-agar and you whisk it until the powder is completely dissolved. Pour it onto your plate, leave just a little bit of the liquid, so don't use all of it right away. Then you whisk in your activated charcoal and then you pour in the rest. I hope it's going to look like the moon. I am so nervous to see if this works, because working with agar-agar can either go really well or it doesn't behave at all like you expect it to. So cross my fingers that today is a good day. And now we're just gonna run super fast. Put this back on the heat. Heat it up again. I'm afraid it's not gonna have quite the smoky Moonscape-ish vibe that I was going for. It's still gonna look cool. Give it a sec. However, I think I was a little bit too slow still because I didn't calculate that I needed to move cameras back and forth. So it's not as good as I wanted it to be, but I think it's gonna be good. But we still have something here. Now I'm just gonna pop the air bubbles in the gel. Now we have to set the table. But first we have to clean up, which is honestly so satisfying. Now comes the time where we actually have to turn the living room into a restaurant, at least for one night, which means that we have to make a bit of an effort, and that means white table cover. I could readjust the camera, I can also just talk to you like this, but the best tip for ironing a table cover is setting your iron to the lowest setting and then ironing it directly onto the table. This is a patience game. I will probably be here for the foreseeable future. My vision is elegant meets sustainable dining. I'm using secondhand tableware all across the board, and I'm trying to combine more classic elements with some more rustic pieces and specks of green. We eat with our eyes first, so presentation is a factor. Not only when it comes to how the food is presented, but also how the table is set. This isn't terribly exciting content, I must admit, but it is one of my favorite things about hosting a dinner. It's setting the whole vibe for the night, and it's a chance to use some of the heirlooms that I really cherish. And on a whole different note, look how the crème de pâtisserie turned out. Are you kidding me? One of the things that I have by far struggled the most with when it comes to vegan desserts is getting pastry creams right, because they're often way too runny or they taste too much like silken tofu. Generally speaking, desserts tend to just be more difficult. However, the pastry cream that I made, I folded over with some whipped cream and it is so fantastic. I don't know if anyone is as excited about this as I am, but look at it. This is a recipe for disaster, by the way. Oh, oh. Gonna taste it together. I know what it tastes like because obviously I've been tasting a ton of it. I've already had more of it than I will in the actual dessert. Look at that. Oh. Stays in shape. A lot of this stuff I don't have recipes for online, but this cream I actually do have a recipe for. I'll post that because you need to know how to do this. My guests are gonna be here in an hour and we have to start working on the main course. If there's one thing I don't look forward to, it's making puff pastry dough, which yeah, obviously is store-bought, look nice when the kitchen is 1,000,000 degrees. The filling is vegan chicken, asparagus and potato because I really wanted to make a substantial main dish that would make you feel full, but it also has to look nice, and those tend to be opposites. At least that's very often the case, but maybe it's just because I like to make small dainty recipes and you have to give people something to fill their stomachs. This is a dish I've made a few times because it falls somewhat within both goals, I would say, especially when we add some extra decorations to the roast like this donut on top. And I'll show you what the roast looks like when it's finished, because now we're jumping straight into plating the first dish. Firstly, I'm piping on the cauliflower puree, and then I'm laying down thinly sliced pieces of tofu. This is marinated in chili and lemongrass. I dream of this tofu. Then I'm adding on the parsley mayo that I made because we're trying to get a good bread to dressing ratio. We don't want it to be too dry, but you have to be able to eat it with your hands. Now scooping on some lemon pearls. They're bigger than caviar and burst with flavor once you bite into them. Then adding some greens and my charcoal twill. This is meant to be a pre-dinner snack, so we had a glass of champagne from Uwe, whose vineyard, by the way, I'm visiting to film an impact video on the wine industry later this year, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. We had our pre-dinner snack, now on to the next dish. I sliced out some of the carrot mosaic and laid it down in the middle of a deep pasta plate before pouring on the soup. I reused the puree and the dip from the previous dish here as well. And this was the dish I was nervous about, but everyone really liked it. And my partner actually said that this was his favorite. This is the roast out of the oven and plated. I'm really happy with the result here. I used a little white butter sauce with red seaweed-based caviar, and we all cleared the plates. Now it's dessert time. One of them did fall over in the fridge. I panicked. I have to improvise the plating here. So we're using baked apple and rhubarb and tart crumbs from the next dish for texture, along with twill and dragon fruit powder to complete the look. I love the color scheme here, so I'm actually really happy with what we ended up with. Once again, I'm reusing an element from the first dish. Firstly, because I like the red thread throughout the courses, but also because it means that I get to finish some of the foods instead of having loads of small leftovers by the end of the day. The last dish was the Moonscape tart, and while it does not look quite as much like the moon as I had hoped, I think this is still pretty cool. I might work some more on this dish and make some adjustments for next time, but my guests were really happy nonetheless, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters.